I want to go where Cindy was found.
The favela isn't exactly a tourist destination.
Well, I'm not your regular tourist.
Brazil has the largest Japanese population outside of Japan. Yakuza, they lie low. They've been here since the 70s.
Get the cops over here and tell them not to radio it in.
Wait a second, what are you gonna do until they get there?
Taking the scene.
I was afraid of that.
In the new movie Falcon Rising, Michael Jai White is John Falcon Chapman, an ex-Marine who travels to exotic lands to battle bad guys, all in the name of justice. Welcome back to Arise on Screen. White is one of the few black Hollywood action stars. We're happy to welcome Michael Jai White to Arise on Screen. Michael, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me now, I've read that this is the action role you've been waiting your whole life to play. Explain to me, what do you mean?
Well, yeah, I've played up until now a lot of roles that were kind of bigger than life, you know, a little bit, you know, out there. Well, you've
Just
got
a bit.
Spawn, you've got even Tyson, you've got Black Dynamite. These movies are, you know, they're cool, but they're characters that, well, except for Tyson, not really based in reality. This is a movie that intends to have me use actually, you know, myself more. You know, I get to play a, you know, kind of like
A badass.
well, you know, I don't want to say it like that, but I get to play a human being, you know, play to the strengths. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, you know, I human being, and this is being I play a combat veteran. I get to play a real life hero, as far as I'm concerned. I think to bring attention to what the combat veterans that come back from being deployed,
what they're dealing with.
What they're dealing with. I think that's a very responsible thing that the filmmakers did, and I'm really honored to be able to play this.
Well, let me ask you, you're an actor, but you're also a writer and a producer. How much input did you have to creating this character and the screenplay and your character itself?
Well, quite a bit. It was a real collaborative type of team. I was working with the director, Ernie Barbarash, and he has a theater background, but he also has done a number of Van Damme movies. He does action. So, like me, he's kind of eclectic, you know. So it was a really great meeting of the minds, and so, you know, it was really fun working atmosphere.
Okay. Well, you're also a martial artist, and I'm curious, you know, what your workout regimen is. You know, you're 6 feet tall, like 190 pounds. It's not easy to stay in shape like that. So how has martial arts helped you as an actor, and what is your workout regime?
Well, I mean, I used to be 6 foot tall, 190 pounds. That's when I was 13.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I work out. I mean, it was just kind of a way of life for me with martial arts. I do several styles, and it's something I always do, and it's one of those things where if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, right? So in this situation, the thing I really had to work on was I wanted to get my knowledge of what was going on with the PTSDs, with our soldiers, and then I wanted to really go through a lot of the combative training, as far as, you know, the firearms and what have you.
Okay. And what was your biggest challenge in this role?
Well, I had to really learn what the nature of PTSD was, and I learned that everybody's different. You know, it's about you responding to certain stimulus that you can't get out of your brain. Now, whether that be the loss of a loved one or some kind of a traumatic experience you had, or some kind of a fear, it just keeps arising. So everyone doesn't have the same kind of reaction. Yeah.
Sure.
And so, I mean, I have a brother-in-law who drastically changed when he came back. Yeah. So it touched my family directly.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, you were talking about playing heroes before. You played the first African-American comic book hero committed to film, Al Simmons in Spawn. And since then, you know, this genre has taken off. What are your thoughts on that? Why do you think superhero movies have become what they are now versus back in '97?
Well, I think, you know...
And where's the sequel?
Well, I wish I could control that. I
Okay.
mean, hey, I'm producing more. Maybe I will throw my hat in there. But I think it's just one of those things. I mean, especially guys. I mean, we are always kids. I don't care if we're 90 years old. There's a kid in us. And what kid does not want to be a superhero? You know?
Well, I agree. Well, now you were almost born to play a superhero because from what I hear, you used to seek out bullies and beat them up when you were young. So.
Well, yeah, that was a weird thing. I mean, which made me kind of the king of the bullies, which was a strange thing. But yeah, I mean, I had this thing. I was a very sensitive kid, and I used to focus a lot of my, hostility toward people who did other people wrong. That hasn't really changed. I get infuriated when people. When people pick on other people, it's still to this day, I'm still that kid. And so for me to put myself in these type of roles as somebody who, has this belief system that, they'll die by, that's not a far
It's not too
trick.
far afield.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I was, basically a day away from the police academy before I got my first big acting role on stage.
Okay.
And then I had trained to be a reserve cop, years after that. So it kind of was in my blood anyway. Still is.
All right. Well, before you go, a lot of female fans know you from the Tyler Perry movies. Why Did I Get Married? Why Did I Get Married Too? And you play the same character, Marcus Williams, on TV. Are we going to see more of that? And what do you like about doing comedy?
Well, yeah, I love it because I'm an eclectic guy. I know sometimes it throws people off because they go, there's Spawn, there's Black Dynamite, then there's Why Did I Get Married and that type of stuff. Well, it's all me. It's all different parts. And people that really know me know me as some, people are trying to get me to do stand-up half the time.
Okay.
It sounds hard to believe when you see me kicking somebody in the head. But it was my detriment growing up because nobody knew what shelf to put me on, but I'm making it work for me now.
All right, well, I can see it now. You do the Michael Jai White, you better laugh. Okay. Well, thank you, Michael, for joining us here.
Well, thank you for having me.
And we'll be back. When we return.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Identical!
Separated at birth, identical twin boys share a love of music. One finds fame, the other dreams of it. Ray Liotta, Ashley Judd, and Joe Pantoliano star in The Identical. Next on Arise on Screen.
And you are more than I ever dared pray for.
But I'm not your regular tourist.
Man, wouldn't it be nice to have someone to get the job done when no one else can?
This is one of those movies that puts the action in action film. Hi, I'm Mike Sargent, and this is Arise on Screen. Again, with me in the studio, arts and entertainment writer Carla Hay of Examiner.com and film critic
Bobby Rivers.
Hey. So, Bobby, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah.
Now, I have to say, I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was an unabashedly straightforward, solid B-movie, action movie. It does what you want it to do. Michael Jai White kicks butt. He kicks bad butt. He kicks Brazilian butt. He kicks Japanese butt. He does every kind of butt kicking you can do, and in various styles of butt kicking. So I enjoyed it on that level. I wasn't going in looking for more than what it was. And I think you felt similar.
Yes, it's like a good 1982 movie in 2014. What I mean there is because it reminded me of First Blood, and I thought I would like to see him do like Stallone did, take his character further like Stallone did with Rambo. It was what it was.
Well, they intend for this to be a franchise.
Really?
Yes.
And you're right. He's just kicking butt everywhere. Like, was the Karate Kid was wax on, wax off? Okay, this movie is bikini wax on, wax off.
Stop. Well, it's funny because you say Stallone and 1982. It reminded me of Action Jackson quite a bit with Carl Weathers. Now, you, on the other hand, Carla, were not quite so enamored with this action film.
I have to say, to the credit of the actors, they were working with an extremely bad screenplay, in my opinion. And you're right, it is what it is. It's a B-movie action flick, and it delivers on that front. However, I felt that the screenplay was lacking in many areas. And also, there were some fight scenes that were a little bit over the top ridiculous. So one guy doing backflips, and I wasn't sure if he was trying to be a gymnast or a gangster. So, I felt that Michael J. White was solid in this movie, and he certainly has the chops to be an action star.
Sure.
I do feel that
yes.
the screenplay was lacking.
Now, do you feel it would have been better if he had a love interest? Because there was no love interest. I think he had spent too much time sucking bullets to suck face.
Well, actually, I think a love interest would have distracted from the story because in the beginning it's established that his sister, played by Layla Ali, has been brutalized and she's in a coma, and he's trying to find out who's behind this. And so it really didn't need a love interest. I think that would have been a little gratuitous.
Now, Bobby, what do you think of Layla Ali in this?
Bless her heart. She did the best she could.
Okay.
There she
with what she was
with
given.
what she was given.
With what she was given. Okay. Well, I enjoyed the locale. I enjoyed getting to see, and you said how you went to the theater actually to go see The Identical, and while The Identical didn't have, which is our next film, didn't have a very large audience.
Well, from what I saw, the people leaving the theater who saw Falcon Rising, they seem to really enjoy it. And I think, again, what you see is what you get. And I think on that level, the film certainly delivers.
And I think it also speaks to the paucity of black heroes on screen.
Exactly.
What else is out there? We've got tons and tons and tons of superheroes, but very, very few, are of color.
Exactly.
It's kind of 21st century Action Jackson. Well, we're going to move on. Our final film is The Identical. Now, imagine twin brothers separated at birth. Both grow up to love music. One gains Elvis-type celebrity, while the other grows up far away and dreams of finding his musical fame. It stars newcomer Blake Rain, Ray Liotta, Ashley Judd, and Joe Pantoliano.
Who is this?
Anybody ever tell you you look just like Drexel Hemsworth?
Are you guys related or something?
No, not related.
Ryan, you're about as close to the real thing as I've ever seen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Identical!
I think this boy's a star.
This is a movie that I thought was somewhat uneven. It took me about 20 minutes to really get what this is about. And then after I read about it, that it was created by an Elvis impersonator, and people may or may not know that Elvis actually had a twin who was stillborn. So this is kind of like, what if that twin lived but was adopted and grew up and became an Elvis impersonator? Now, I didn't hate this movie, but I think, Carla, you had a great quote for this movie, that you felt this movie is like an Elvis impersonator.
Yeah, corny and basically inauthentic. And so one of the things about the movie that may be a great description is it's confusing to a lot of people because they're not sure if it's a sort of inspired by a biopic or if it's a religious movie. And so I think that, like you said, the tone is very uneven, and that's one of its biggest flaws.
And you, Bobby?
It's a faith-based film that, frankly, it made me pray. I prayed Ray Liotta gets better agent. And and it was all these cliches. I thought that guy was going to go, Daddy, I want to sing and dance like a Negro man. I'm tired of clapping on the 1 and 3 like everybody in this town.
I also pray they'd get better wigs, too, because that was one of the things that was almost laughable about the movie.
You didn't like the wigs?
Well, the production values weren't the best. And interestingly, Ray Liotta is one of the executive producers of this film, which is very surprising because he has this tough guy image for most of his movies.
He does get to do the best or the most acting in this movie of anybody else.
And he probably had a personal connection to it, Ray Liotta, because he himself was adopted. And that's an angle of the film.
Well, I like this film enough to say that it's probably better to watch at home. I particularly liked, and we have an interview with him next week, Joe Pantoliano. He was really one of the high points in the film.
Yes.
But it's definitely been a lot of fun talking to you both. I hope I can get you back here again. Bobby?
We'd love to.
And you,
Absolutely.
Carla. Okay. And we'll be back next week to talk more movies here on Arise on Screen. I'm Mike Sargent, and thanks for watching.